where you want to start is you want to start with, you want to grab like a light gray paint. Getting ready for Saturday? Me too, dude. I just made my army today. Not confident in it all. Definitely not confident. All right, so we're going to start with Celestra Gray. You can add white to your primer if you want to do that. Of course. You're bringing 3 lists? Dang. I am not. I've got 995 on my points. It's probably not going to go anywhere, especially against my the opponent I think I have. But yeah, we'll see. See, this is what happens when you don't take care of your paints, chat. You get a big goober in the top, and it prevents it from dropping out. All right, so first color is going to be like a light gray. It doesn't matter if it's the same brand or not. We primed in black because we always prime in black, and it builds up that shadow, which we want. And we're going to need more of that, so we're going to leave that right handy. Now, for dry brushing, I will either use a flat brush like this or like a domed makeup brush, which I think I have kicking around somewhere. Hold on. There we go. That's a little bit of a domed brush there. They essentially, for this process, function the same way. In fact, I think I'm going to use this one because its bristles are shorter. So, I'm going to grab some paint here and just kind of soak the whole brush. And it's okay at this stage if you get a lot of paint on the mini, you kind of want that. So knock just a little bit of it off on your paper towel. And then you just kind of, oh my gosh, that was really strong. I don't know if that's going to work out. That was a little too much paint, I think. Well, maybe not. And you kind of want to go downwards on the model from top to bottom so those shadowy crevices can stay. And it's just a pretty thick overbrush of your light gray. In fact, the more texture in this, the better, because that will mean more texture will come out in your mini. But you essentially just want to get it wherever you can. Now, I will also attach to this as a little bit of an addendum. I am nowhere near an expert on painting this way. I don't do it very often. But if you are going to use contrast paints, it's the best way to do it. It's maybe a little less heavy on the pigment this time. Yeah, not quite so intense. And the worst part about this on this mini is that it's hard to get in all those nooks and crannies. But depending on how you want to paint it, that's a good thing. Now, I believe you're trying to paint
I'm gonna make the whole world.
Ill, how you doing, buddy?
All of your screams. Doodle-a-doodle-a-doo.
Hey, bud.
How's things going, man? Thank you for that sub, my dude. 11 months. Thank you, Mayhem, for the yippee. 11 months, dude. It does not feel like it's been that long. I'm doing well, man. We had a good weekend. Very productive weekend. And someone asked me if I could show them how to do some Zenithal painting. So we're working on that right now. Now, the biggest thing to remember is the lighter that your undercoat is, the more vibrant your contrast paints are going to be once you put them down. So, we'll go back through with a lighter, even a lighter gray than this, and just make sure that the areas that would be the brightest are indeed the brightest. I cannot get in there in that wing, so I guess we're not gonna. Clownstab, how you doing, buddy? I show you the mimic I painted with Zenithal highlights. No, you did not. See, if you were in the Discord, you could throw it into the mini painting channel. Yeah, Zenithal highlighting is really nice, especially if you're trying to get the mini painted and usable quickly. All right, so we're getting all those little dangly bits here. Don't take that out of context. Listen, Cthulhu has dangly bits. Y'all are going to argue with that? You're crazy. All right, so we've used most of that. If you hit !point Discord in chat, if you type that out, that will give you the link right to us. Yeah, that's the one that works. The one below chat does not work anymore. I need to remove that. All right, so we just want to make sure we get this good base on the wings primarily. And you do want some of that shadow to stick around because it's going to add variation to your end result. But essentially, it's different to think about. So when you paint normally, you have to worry about painting in your shadows. With this, your shadows are already on the lowest level, and you're just changing their color. So you're already working with the contrast. You're just the contrast of the model. So the shadows and the brightness, you're just changing their color. And you can even undercoat with specific colors if you wanted to. Like some people do their Zenithals with like blues and purples and reds to kind of give them undertones that are still, still reasonable. And now we're going to hit our base with as much of this as we can. So I realize my hand is shaking when I beat it with the dry brush. There we go. Leave a little shadow under him. I'm a little rough and shoddy with the belly coat here. It's not quite blending as nicely as I would normally like it to be, but I'm in a hurry. And that's kind of what SpeedPaint is about. If you're in a hurry, this is the technique for you. So, this is what we're looking at after first pass. So it's still got those dark bits in there, but most of it is bright. Now what we're going to do now is after we wash the disgustingness out of our brush, because they get gross. Dry brushes get gross. They suck up a lot of paint. So once we knock that out, we'll take our pure white and we will get this just in the spots that we want to be the brightest. And we'll make sure we have just a little bit of white paint in our brush. We don't want a ton, because this is where it's easy to overdo it. So now you take this white and you just kind of go over the most raised edges here. Anywhere where you think you'll want some vibrancy and color, like those ridges on the crown there. Hey, Unc, how you doing, buddy? How are you doing? Both fermentation vessels are chugging away right now, so we are golden on the brews. I was a little worried about the cider there for a minute, but we got it. Yeah, we have lots of bubblage. So on things like the wings and the hands, you want to make sure you get every little bit here. But again, don't go crazy with the pure white, because it'll wash out if you're not careful. And everything on your mini will look crazy. Unless that's the style you're going for. There. All right, so we've got some lighter spots, we've got some darker spots, and we've got that darkness coming through too. An SG measurement? I'm not sure what that means. I know the IPA has a final gravity reader in it, so that we can tell the alcohol percentage at any point. So from the moment that before we pitch the yeast till later this afternoon, we had 1% alcohol by volume. So Android does make joining Discord servers difficult, and I'm not quite sure why. Probably just authentication security and stuff, but it does make it a little bit annoying. All right, I am going to take this and just do a little bit of touch up on the base here, because otherwise the base won't have anything to color, or the paint won't have anything to color on the base. Get under there. There. Discord mobile was scuffed from the jump, you think? I don't generally have many problems with it. In fact, I use Discord primarily on mobile. All right, so now that you've got your mini to this point, your highlight tones, your midtones, and your shadow tones are all established. So now, all you have to do is pick a contrast paint that you like and toss it on there. So I was torn between ochre gray or ochre clay and plasmatic bolt. I think I'm going to go with plasmatic bolt just because I like it a little better. But I do like this color, and I want to try it somewhere on the mini. Yeah, we have the specific gravity of that IPA that went in. The cider, I unfortunately do not. So we're just going to have to wing that one. But I'm hoping after all that it turns out well, because I'm having my concerns. All right, now with contrast paints, just make sure that if it's not a brush you really if it's not a brush that you don't really care much about, just wash it a lot, because they're really bad about clogging up the good old brushes here. It is a lot of sugar. All right, so that is going to be similar to what your color is going to look like and how the paint is going to react. So it's going to flow into all those detail areas. And then you just take this paint, nice long drawn out strokes. Try not to paint back over stuff if you don't have to. There. Now that is a little light for my taste, so I will probably go back over it at some point. And just work in small areas at a time. Don't try and do too much. Get it in as long of a brush stroke as you can. Because if you go back over a contrast paint and it's half dried, or a speed paint and it's half dried, it like rips it. Some weird property of the paints. And really, that is contrast paints in a nutshell. So now he's got a nice tone to him. A little lighter than I want it to be, so I'll probably go back over it again. Or I can go over it with a different color and change the profile a bit, which I might also do. But this plasmatic bolt is SpeedPaint 1.0. So the 2.0s are supposed to be even better. I haven't had a chance to work with them yet. I really enjoyed the first ones, much to some people's distaste about Army Painter. I think they're perfectly fine. Now I'm going to avoid the toes there. And I'm going to try and avoid the rock. Yeah, I don't have any qualms with Army Painter personally. They're not my favorite brands of paint, but they do just fine. And I just look at it this way, like if you're starting to get into the hobby and you don't know if you're going to love it or hate it, don't buy Citadel paints. They're expensive. I think they're quality. I don't know if they're worth what you pay for them, but I think they're quality. But if you're just learning, you're just getting into the swing of things, you know, go with something a little bit less expensive until you're sure you really like it. Vallejo is great. Yeah, Vallejo has a good line of paints. If you can get your hands on them, which I don't know who's distributing them, but if you can get your hands on Duncan Rhodes 2 thin coats, those are wonderful. I love those. I got those from the Kickstarter, and I regret nothing. They are fantastic paints. All right. I just want to make sure everything has at least one coat. Your app's busted, Clown Stab? Yeah, the only thing that might be different is that you'll have to go into the rules, or the rules section, and verify the rules, and then go to roles and just make sure that you've got the basic viewer role there, and then you should be able to see the whole server. There we go. So that's coat 1. And that's SpeedPaint in a nutshell. You're just not skilled in Discord? Well, you're out of practice, right? So, for the wings, I'm going to try this ochre clay because this is SpeedPaint 2.0, and I've never used that before. So we're going to give it a shot. Remember, you want to get it in as wide of as far down as you need to go. Do it all at one go. And just overlap a little bit. Ooh, I like this color. I am going to wick away some of that over here because I don't need quite that much. And see how that color underneath comes right up through that speed paint? That's exactly why we take the time to do the Zenithal highlight beforehand. You can apply speed paint directly over white paint or light gray paint or whatever the situation calls for, and that will work. But this is just an easier way to get a mini done in a quick amount of time. See, so now we've got wings done, we've got body done. And how long have we been streaming? We've been streaming for a half hour. I probably took 6 or 7 minutes to get started, and we're already here. So, for the only other trade-off that I will mention is that it does take speed paint a while to dry, or contrast paint or whatever. I'm going to keep calling it speed paint, but it's any contrast paint, any speed paint, any paint like that. So if we want like a dark green, let's see, I could use that, but if we want a dark green for the base, my Dark Angels green is not very shaken up. I don't use this contrast paint very often. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this dark green, put a couple drops out here.
I'm going to make the whole world deaf.
Who is that?
All of your screams.
No way, brother.
11 months, Woot.
11 months. Thank you for that resub, brother. I appreciate you big time. You and Ill today with the 11 months. We've almost been doing this for a year? That's nutty. That's nutty. Okay, so we'll take the dark green that's on the palette. We'll get a lighter green over here. And what we'll do is we'll just dip into one. Put some on the base here. Just be a little loose and free with it, and grab the darker. Just kind of mix it in there. Oh wow, that's a lot darker. Okay. So the light green is going to get lost a little bit if we're not careful. Oh, I'm not even on camera. Yeah, so we're just alternating colors here to try and get some variation. And we can always go over with a dry brush of a light color later to pick those details back out, because Dark Angel's green is very dark. Now again, I want to state and I want to stress that I am not the best Zenithal highlight painter in the land here. I don't paint this way very often, but it is helpful for things like D&D minis when you're trying to get into the game real quick and don't want to spend a billion hours painting a boss or a bad guy that's only going to be 10 minutes of the campaign, you know? But yeah, so where do we stand? We're still a little wet here, but what we can do is we will take some Runic Gray here, which is another SpeedPaint 1.0, but I really like it. Now we're going to hit that rock underneath his foot, the tactical rock, as people call it. We are going to need a finer brush, though. So we just grab that Runic Gray and just get this rock with it. I think I might have taken too much of the paint off. And we'll coat the tactical rock in gray and move on. There. Now, thanks, Coach. If you want to see the rest of this, I'll put it up on YouTube and I'll send you a link to it so that you can see the whole thing or come back to it or whatever. But have a good evening, my dude. Oh, we missed a spot back here. There we go. Now, we're going to take some Zealot Yellow from Army Painter. And we're going to get our worst, absolute worst brush. And I've got the perfect one for this. It's this gnarly bugger right here. But what we can do is we can grab this light yellow, dab some of it off, right? It's almost a goldenrod yellow. We just kind of dab it along here. Get some variation in color. And we're probably going to do the same thing with this guy's body here. But let's try this. So this is the original skin color there. Mini's tucked in and ready for me. Okay. So I'm going to try this here. So if we just blotted some yellow in there, ooh, it turns those recesses really dark. So I don't know if we're going to want that, although I think that might look cool. What do we think, chat? Add the yellow on top or nah? You can always water it down a bit to do a little less, you know? Yeah, I don't know. If we add the yellow, it will darken those creases up and it will get rid of the bluish hue to things. But, yeah, I think it might look good. Okay, let's do it. Sick of trying to decide what's going to work out and not. I just want to do it. That is very bright yellow. It's pretty obvious here. Not sure if I'm super thrilled, but that's all right. This is my stippling brush, so it's kind of just being used for that right now. But stippling will introduce a little bit of randomness, a little bit of texture, organic-ish texture. That can be really beneficial to a model like this. Ooh, are they good, Unc? I haven't gotten into them yet. All right, so now stippling back here, we're going to try not to hit the wings, because they are already the color we want them, which is fine. Fave of theirs so far? Good. I'm glad. I am glad indeed. Oh, and Minnie wanted me to tell you or she wanted me to say thank you for her shirt. She was very, very thankful that you were, you thought of her to get that for her. Now, so far, we haven't had any issues with reactivation yet, which I am happy for. Although if it happens, you just kind of lean into it and go with it. There's not much else you can do at that point. I don't want to be painting in there too much because there's still wet blue in there. Or that aqua color. And we don't want to get wet. Oh yeah, it fits. She's good with it. Yep, she had a blast. I had a blast too. That was a good time. So chat, Unc came up, down, left, right, center. Came to my house this weekend. And we went out, picked a bunch of apples, made a bunch of hard cider, went out to dinner, then made some beer. I think we tired him out pretty quick. Oh yeah, she had a great time. Nah, and the thing is we had tempered expectations prior, so she knew what was happening, but she just kind of got ahead of herself and got excited about a particular thing that we could not do. All right, chat. That's our Cthulhu right now. Little Cthulhu monster. And that's all speed paint. This mini, you could very well stop right here and just be done. And that's it. And that took us probably about 40 minutes to do from start to finish so far. And yeah, we're probably going to touch it up and do a little bit extra stuff, but this is perfectly table ready. So that's a primer on Zenithal and speed paints. So hopefully that was helpful. I'll save this to the YouTube channel in case anybody wants to refer back to it later. But yeah, that's our Cthulhu buddy. He's a little brighter in person, but that's our Cthulhu buddy. Cool. It was a full day. We started at got up at 8:30 and just went until probably 12:30 at night or in the morning. And that's the thing, Unc, is this quality or this technique is super easy. Super easy. Now, before I forget what I used, because probably what I'll do after this is I'll come back through with, oh, wrong paint. I'll come back through with some actual layer paints and do some highlighting and some brightening, because contrast paints do make it kind of dull, unless you're actively working against that, which I was not. But it can be a little dull if you don't take the time to brighten it up. So right now, we can get a second. Oh wait, shit. I firmly believe that you could do this, Unc. I have no doubt in my mind. So we grab that junky brush, put it into the ochre paint that we already used here, and we just kind of stipple. And not a lot looking there, but give it a couple more. I'm also running out of paint. But see how it gives that wing a more leathery look to it? That's exactly what you want. Get a little bit more of this ochre paint. I like this ochre paint a lot. My daughter picked this color, and I'm actually really impressed with it. This is the 2.0 line. The rest were 1.0 paints, speed paints. There we go. And now we'll do the front. We don't want a lot on the brush, but we want enough to change the color, obviously. Just a little bit. Just a little bit right there. I'll do the same thing here. So that's where we're going to leave that for today. But you come back through, do some edge highlighting there. Cover them all in a gloss varnish to make them look all wet and drippy. And you either do the eyeballs all white or you do them like a whitish blue and wash over them. So yeah, that is our Zenithal painting, and that took us about 45 minutes to do, all said and done. And this guy's about the size of a Space Marine. Yeah, in fact, he is the size of a Space Marine. A Primaris Marine is as tall as this guy. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of crazy detail that you really need to worry about with this particular mini, as opposed to something like Warhammer or something. But again, this is just a quick way to get paint on something so that you can play with it and enjoy the game. So I hope